Recording now. Okay, great, everyone. All right, so just to kind of reiterate, my name is Nora Trenicosta. I am the Regional Director for Texthelp on the West Coast, and I'm coming to you from my home office in San Leandro. And I wanted to introduce Corey Brooks, who is your Northern California Texthelper. And
hello, everybody.
We are here today to give you like the 30,000-foot overview of Read&Write. So we will be coming back again during the August sessions to share quite a bit more about Read&Write with you. But so this is the 30,000-foot overview. We're recording this. So if you wanted to go ahead and review this or share this with any of your colleagues, we're setting this up so that you can follow along later in the recording. We'll do the same in our other sessions as well. So with that in mind, we're going to share kind of the overview of Read&Write. I'm not going to make you watch a video with me here, but I wanted you to have this video here in our slides so that if you needed an overview or you wanted to share with your colleagues a little bit about what that looked like, don't worry about this slide here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just delete this because you do not need it since you've already had the tools pushed out to you. So what this is, Read&Write for Google Chrome, is a literacy support tool. There's no content here. There's no curriculum here. This just helps you to give a little more oomph to the teaching strategies that you're using. It also is going to allow your students to sort of like personalize their experience when they're interacting with text on the Chromebook or pretty much anywhere. So what this is a Chrome extension. So that means it lives in the Chrome browser. So if any of you are using like a personal Mac or something, you can't be on Safari because we're in Chrome right now. So we're living in Chrome. And in the Chrome browser, you should have up here at the top of your screen, somewhere over here, kind of in the right-hand side, you should have a little purple puzzle piece. If you don't see the little purple puzzle piece, what I want you to do is look at the gray puzzle piece. So the purple puzzle piece is for Read&Write. The gray puzzle piece over here, that is from Google, and it's letting you know like which extensions you have. So if I want to see that purple puzzle piece, I have to pin it. So can you see how like I unpinned with the gray menu and I pinned it again and my Read&Write is back. So if you don't see that Read&Write in there, you may need to pin it. It's been pushed out to you. So just double check and make sure you have that little purple puzzle piece. You're also going to have this little guy that kind of looks like a cartoon character, that little Texthelp screenshot reader. That's going to help you. You're also going to have something called the PDF reader. But today we're going to focus mainly on that purple puzzle piece. And if you have any trouble accessing or seeing this, remember you have to be in the Chrome browser, and you do have to be logged into both your Drive and the Chrome browser. So this may seem like a lot, but for your students that are on Chromebooks, when you open the Chromebook, it's pretty much a brick until you sign in, right? When you sign into a Chromebook, you are automatically signing into both your Google Drive and the Chrome browser. But if you're using a Mac or a PC or another device, you're going to be not necessarily logged into the browser. So I've got this little quick cheat sheet for you here. You need to be logged into your Google Drive, which is, you can see all your files and your Gmail and all that kind of great stuff. It's possible to be logged into your Drive and either not be logged into your browser or to be logged into your browser as somebody else. So, if you're using a personal computer and maybe a family member has logged in to the browser, unbeknownst to you, or maybe you have a personal account, you switch back and forth. Like right here, I'm Nora at Texthelp. I have to be Nora's Texthelp up here too. I can't be Nora is cool at Gmail. I have to be Nora at Texthelp and Nora at Texthelp. So if those two things match, you should have access to all of your lovely extensions. And so hopefully that's straightened out for you guys and you're all ready to use the tools. The Read&Write that's been purchased for the district is a complete license. So it includes access to Read&Write for Google Chrome, which we're going to use here today. And that works exactly the same on a Mac PC or a Chromebook. I have special ed kids in my family. If the button was red at home and blue at school, it would be meltdown time. So just know there's no teacher version versus student version. Everybody has the same toolbar, and then from there you can customize it however you like. We're going to focus today on the Read&Write for Google Chrome extension, because I think that's going to be the heart of what you're going to do. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we do have other formats for Read&Write. There is a Windows version that's locally installed on a Windows machine. There is a Mac version that's locally installed on a Mac machine. And I bring those up because you can have access to any of the different platforms of Read&Write. And the Windows and the Mac version come with some very robust scanning software. So if you have locked text or paper text that you really want to get on the screen for the students, that's another way that you can do that. But today we're going to focus on Read&Write for Google Chrome. I'll skip over this and we'll go straight here. I want you guys to kind of have a little bit of the why of Read&Write. So again, this is a tool that's going to do all kinds of things, including read anything on the screen out loud to your students. But it kind of goes beyond that. It's a full literacy tool. Not only do we want to help students read things aloud, we want to help them express what they do know, and to be more proficient and accurate in their writing. So those are kind of like the two main things, but I feel that the real action and the magic in Read&Write is in these highlighters here. And I know there's programs that'll let you, kind of lay color on a page or a website, but it's the action in the highlighters is when you use those highlighters to make explicit certain standards. And so you can see here, I tried to pick a very general standard. So here we have main idea and detail. And you can see that the student selected the main idea in pink and the details in green, and then pulled those details out into a separate document. And it could be that that's the beginning of a summary. It could be lots of things for your students. I know we have a resource teacher on here. If you have an ELD student that isn't super confident and doesn't always necessarily feel really capable of, just raising a hand in class and jumping right in, many cases, this will help them to kind of organize their thoughts. I have a special ed student in my family who's very, very bright, but she has a extremely limited working memory. So when she was in high school, the teacher would do the classic turn and talk to your partner kind of thing, and whatever she was doing before just evaporated. And so for her to be able to, in class, do the same reading as everybody else and have all of those supports, but to actually pull out the parts that she thought were important, then when they went to small group instruction, she was actually able to contribute in the moment instead of other kids wondering why that quiet kid added something to the document at 10 o'clock at night. So there's lots of different ways to think about this, but I just wanted you guys to have in mind, we chose a very general standard here, but really we could do this with anything. Here we did compare and contrast, but we could have elementary, like primary students identifying all the short A words. We could have high school students marking in Romeo and Juliet, like maybe why the Montagues are upset in yellow and why the Capulets are upset in blue. There's all kinds of things that you can do, but this just makes it very interactive and come alive for your students. And ultimately, we want to model strategies that are going to continue to grow with them through their academic career. I just want you guys to have the total overview before we dig into this tool. So what the heck is Read&Write for Google Chrome? It is a toolbar, and it just lays on top of everything that you do. And I know this looks kind of scary. There's a lot here. We're going to give you the 30,000 foot overview today, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to look at specific tools. And it looks kind of scary to see so many of these things here. You can use just one of them or all of them. And this big toolbar right here is what it looks like in Google Docs. There's a lot we can do in Google Docs. And so this smaller toolbar is what it looks like in PDFs. And this is what the toolbar looks like on websites. You'll start to, as you look at it, you'll start to see a number of things that are the same. So you'll see the play, pause, and stop button everywhere. So basically, once you know how to make a Google Doc read out loud, you know how to make a PDF read out loud, and you know how to make a website read out loud. Similarly, when you want to use your speech input, where you talk to the computer and it just takes down what you say, it's going to be the same icon no matter what format you're in. So even though this looks a little scary, the skills are going to transfer to the different sets. So the types of files that we can work with are Google Docs, Google Slides, PDFs, EPUB files. I don't know if anyone's using EPUB files, but that is another Adobe file format. And so if you have access to those, you can also use Read&Write with those. You can also use Read&Write for websites in the Chrome browser. That could include an LMS like Google Classroom or Seesaw. That could include your online textbooks. So the idea is that your students are going to have this very consistent support, no matter what content area they're in, no matter what kind of text they're in, no matter what kind of format it's in. So they'll be able to grow into those skills and rely on them no matter what they're doing. So I'll pause right here. Any questions before we start digging into the tools?
Did you put the slides in the chat?
I did. Let me re-add them for those of you who joined later. There is our slides. So hopefully everybody's got those now. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here. And I'm going to show you, we are on slide 8. And what I'd like to do is to have some hands-on practice with you guys. And so when you're on slide 8, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the template link. And this is a Google Docs template. I set up this link so that if you wanted to share this link later with your students, it's all ready to go. There's absolutely nothing that you have to do. So if you click on this link, it's going to open a template for you. And you'll see, if you want to use the template, this is going to make a copy of this in your Google Drive for you. And it's going to be
Hey,
safe.
Nora,
Mm-hmm.
the link is not showing up in the chat. I'm not seeing it either.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let me go back here.
You may be chatting with someone personally.
Let's see if there's anything going on with the, nope, I'm chatting. Oh, in the waiting room. Interesting. Sorry, guys. Nobody's in the waiting room anymore.
There it is.
That better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. So I'll give you guys a minute or two to get on those slides, just so you can kind of see what's happening there. And let's go back to, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to take you guys back to these slides. So the first slide should look like this for Hayward Unified. Catch up with me. There we go. So we're going to wind up on slide 8. And when you're on slide 8, you're going to
Rebecca, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
So as we are here, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to get to this template. But what you should have is a Google Doc that looks like this. And then you'll see my Read&Write toolbar is automatically appearing because I've downloaded it and accepted all the permissions and everything. So whenever I open a Google Doc, that Read&Write toolbar is there for me. You may not have that. You may have nothing up here, or you may have this little purple puzzle piece. You're always looking for the purple puzzle piece when you want to use Read&Write. If you have the little purple puzzle piece, this is kind of like a little tab that you can just use to pull it down. If you want to hide it, you can pull it up. If you don't have anything at all, you can always click the purple puzzle piece to make Read&Write completely disappear from your screen. And then when you click the puzzle piece again, you're going to see that little bar pull down. So many of you may not have the tool at all. You may not see the tool at all, but if you have your little purple puzzle piece here, you should be able to click on that. And you should probably see, when you do that, you should probably see the little bar here pull down. And so I want you to pull down this bar. And when you do that for the very first time, if you haven't touched Read&Write before, you're going to have a couple of boxes pop up and ask for permissions. Your district we've signed a privacy agreement with your district. They've looked under the hood at all the software. They're totally comfortable with you using it. So you definitely should feel like you can accept permissions from Read&Write. I know sometimes IT tells us not to click on anything, but this is one of those times where it's okay. And while you guys are doing that, I will let you know that we are very, very, very serious about privacy at Texthelp. And so we never know who your students are or what they're doing. So we cannot see who your students are. We cannot see what they're doing. I'll show you later ways that you can look and see what they're doing, but Texthelp has no access to identifiable student information at all. So I want you guys to feel really comfortable about that. If you have kids or parents that ask you about any of that kind of stuff, we are very, very private here. So taking a quick temperature reading, how many people have gotten to the place where you can actually see this template and you have the toolbar?
No, I'm using a Mac and it's just a nightmare because I logged on with Safari and I went back and forth to Chrome and it sends me over and over to the same step. Out of 3 steps, sends me back to the second step and then nothing happens.
Got it. Okay, so you're in that kind of loop. So one of the things that you have to do when you, so are you logged into Chrome okay? You're just not getting the
I logged on to my district account of Chrome. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I found a Read&Write add-on when you click on the waffle, but it takes me on this never-ending loop of the same thing.
Okay, so if you're experiencing that, it may be that at some point there was a permission that you didn't accept, or what most likely is happening, there's a place where one of the permissions, Google will pop up and you have to check, yes, it's okay to sync, which sounds really scary. It sounds like your Safari and your Google and your private and your public is all going to get linked together. All the syncing is Google saying, hey, Nora, is that you? Hey, Nora, is that also you? Okay, they're both you. Let's go. So
yeah, that would be great, but I haven't seen any of that. If
at any point you missed the sync step, there's some kind of going back that you'll have to do. So what I'll do for those of you who are not able to do that right now, I'm going to send some articles after our session. So I would suggest probably for right now, just kind of follow along, watch, ask questions, and then we'll make sure that you get the information you need to get all of the permissions straightened out. We'll also make sure that you have a direct line to our tech support and you can work with them directly as well. And then if you want to go back and just kind of review the part where we're practicing here together, you'll be able to do that from the recording. So sorry for those of you that haven't had a chance to kind of explore the tools yet, but hopefully if you hadn't seen it at all, you should be able to pull this down and accept the permissions. And if not, we'll go ahead and send some extra information. And just so the rest of you know, I'm going to link that information to the comments in the video as well, so that anybody who looks at this, 6 months later will still have access to all of that. So thanks for coming along for the ride. For some of you, it's going to be more of a sitting in the back seat watching. For some of you, I hope this is going to be some active practice. Any other questions?
Danielle is, she can't see the screen anymore, but I'm just wondering if it's maybe behind the front screen. Maybe I'm not sure.
It says Texthelp has started sharing screen, but I don't see any screen share.
Can you pin my screen? Did you try that?
I was just wondering if anyone else is having that issue.
I'm actually having that issue, but if I shrink the Zoom screen, for some reason, I can see her screen. It's weird.
Okay, let's see if Zoom is doing something weird. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and I'm going to start sharing again. And you guys let me know if you came along for the ride. Can you guys see me now? Can you see the screen now?
Texthelp has started sharing.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. It looks like the nice little lady told us the meeting is being recorded. I'm so sorry. So here we are again. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hopefully you guys can see it this time. All righty. So is that a little better for people?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
You bet. All right. So here we are. Here's my Read&Write toolbar. You can see all of that. And we're just going to walk through these practice exercises. So basically, it's going to walk us through the toolbar for Read&Write. And I want to give credit where credit is due down here at the bottom. Cassie Frost is an AT specialist from Wisconsin, and she actually created this practice doc for her students as part of our Texthelp certification program. And if I ever am fortunate enough to meet Cassie in person, she's going to get a bear and a hug. This is the best student practice that I've seen. And I want to let you guys know this is not just this, but everything that I'm sharing with you is non-copyrighted, totally free, open. Feel free to use it, abuse it, modify it, share part or all with students. So everything I'm giving you is like here for you to run with. So if you decide that you want to, try some of this with your students, you don't have to copy this whole thing. You could copy 2 or 3 parts of this. I don't expect you guys to, necessarily sit down and spend a whole week going through all of this with your students. We just want you guys today to have the 30,000 foot overview. And then again, in our subsequent sessions, we'll help you hone in on maybe 2 or 3 strategies that you want to run with. So first thing about Read and Write is we can read virtually anything on the screen out loud to your students. So you can see you have a play, pause, and stop button. You may or may not hear this read out loud on the webinar, but you definitely will hear it on your own. So I'm going to press the play button and you're going to see and hear the words going across the screen. So I'm not sure if you're hearing that, but I wanted to pause it and show you it's lighting up the entire sentence, and then it's lighting up the active word that's being played. There's a lot of science behind this. So we know over a period of decades, actually, that students who have access to this coordinated audio and visual support where they see and hear the words and track them in the text at the same time, your average student can read and comprehend 2 levels higher than their normal reading level. And for your students with disabilities, the average is actually 5 levels. So if you have students who are not able to independently read grade level text, this is a great way for them to actually get access to the content. So there's lots of things in here that are appropriate for all different developmental levels, but this reading is something that's used from really kindergarten on up into college students at Stanford. So did I see a hand raised there? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And you guys have a minute or 2 here to, kind of play with this on your own and see what it looks like here. I'm going to pause this, and I wanted to point out something that
today people don't have time for reading, and reading is impossible to do while
So I did not think of this myself, but I had a number of teachers who told me that a lot of students these days need to have the pause button explained to them, right? So many students now stream everything. So instead of pausing, they may just like close the tab entirely. They may not be used to the idea of pausing. I'm old enough to know what cassettes are. Like, pausing is awesome. But it's something to think about. Also, you may have textbooks that read things out loud for your students, but if they hire a human reader, they usually hire the reader to read the entire page out loud. They don't hire the reader to read like 1 sentence and stop, 1 sentence and stop. So if you're in high school and you're reading your really hard biology textbook and you get halfway down the page and there's no pause button and you want to use the dictionary, guess what? You got to stop it, look your word up in the dictionary, and then start all over again at the beginning of the page. So keep in mind that some of your students may actually need a little guidance on what that pause button is for. If there's anything else I want you guys to take away about Read and Write, as this program is deeply customizable. So each student is going to have their own challenges and their own support that they need, and they're going to be able to use Read and Write to fit with what they need. So over here, the 3 little meatballs dot, when I go over here to my options, there's lots of ways that I can customize Read and Write to really match my needs. So one is to choose all these different voices. So there's literally like over 100 voices in here. Many of them are English voices, many are other voices. If I click on this Arabic Tariq, it is not going to change what's on my page to Arabic. If it's Arabic, it's going to read it with Arabic phonetics and Arabic inflection. So similarly, I know that you have some dual language going on in Hayward. If I were to pick, this is everybody's favorite Spanish voice, Mexican Spanish, Paulina. She sounds like a West Coast Spanish speaker. If I were to choose Paulina and have her read in English it's not going to be so great. But if I were to choose Paulina on Spanish text, it's going to be awesome. Likewise, our US language voices are down here. I like Ava the best. If I were to have Ava read something in Spanish, she's going to pronounce it with English pronunciation. So she's going to say, "Donde estar?" You know, it's going to sound really bad, right? So just keep in mind, what is here is a voice. That's all it is. It's just phonetics. Over here is where the language is. And so these are the languages that we can do everything on the toolbar in. So you can have a nice British accent and things are going to be spelled C-O-L-O-U-R, or you can choose these other languages, Spanish, French, Dutch, Portuguese, and everyone asks, why the heck is Malaysian in there? They really love Google in Malaysia, and we have a deal with the government of Malaysia. So if you wanted to change, for instance, if you were in a dual language Spanish program and you wanted to change to Spanish, you can see I changed the language and this changed over here. But if I change the functions to Spanish, then not only am I going to have it reading out loud to me in Spanish with the Spanish voice, I'm going to be able to use word prediction, the dictionary, speech input, everything in Spanish. So if you have kids that, you know, they're bilingual going back and forth, they're absolutely going to be able to change that. But I'm going to go back to just English. So, so that is kind of the basics there. Let's get this out of the way. And so that's kind of like the basics on the speech. You can go faster and slower. You can choose different voices, and the speech works in conjunction with the other features. So once your kids get going, they're going to be pretty quick at being able to have things read out loud. So now I'm going to open up the dictionary. And one other thing I wanted to point out to you guys, sometimes people want to click things on the toolbar and then click things in the text. Doesn't make a difference in a Google Doc. But you know, if you're on a website, you got to pick somewhere on the website and then say what you want to do. So we want to have a consistent flow and experience no matter where we are. So you can either scroll over a word like this, or you can even just double click on a single word to select it, which is what I like. I can look this up in the dictionary and I can hear the description read out loud. I also have a picture dictionary, which is pretty awesome. So if I select a word here and I look it up in the picture dictionary, I'm actually going to have both the picture and the text. So the directions here are asking you to cut and paste the definition here of these different words. And remember how I talked about, you know, in your textbook, you might have to stop the whole thing to use the dictionary. You can have the dictionary and the picture dictionary open and you drag them wherever you want on the screen. And you can have those just there waiting for you when you want to look something up. So I can just go over here and I can click different words and see that. Now down here, what she's suggesting is that you look up the word and put the picture definition. And this is super cool. With the picture, I can actually drag the picture right into my Google Doc. So I can go back here and get the picture for solar, right? And I can drag that in here. I can get the picture for flag. And here you got, you know, a lot of different things. So I'm going to pick kind of like the most generic one, but you've got different options. If any of you are special ed, by no means is Read&Write an augmentative communication program. However, if you like programs like Boardmaker and you like to have that picture text support, if you're working with, you know, really primary level readers or newcomers and you want to add picture text support, you can use the picture dictionary to do that. So I know during remote instruction, a lot of people were working hard to give like extra support to students and kind of like extra clear directions. So this is a strategy that actually was presented to me by a bunch of Persian Gulf veterans that had traumatic brain injuries and don't have great memories. They were creating visual schedules for themselves. So look at this. If I do 8, I'm going to say alarm to wake up. And then we do 8:15. And then we do 8:30, shower, 8:50, breakfast, 9:20, bus. I can use the picture dictionary here. And I can look up bus and I can bring bus like right here into my text. Oh, well, I didn't bring it to the right place, but you guys get the picture, right? So I could. You could actually make yourself like a nice visual dictionary if you wanted to, right? You could make nice instructions. You could add like picture text support like right into a document if you wanted to. And that was the picture dictionary where we can just drag those right over. I'm guessing post-COVID, for the most part, your students are doing okay with internet access. You probably got most of that ironed out with, hotspots and whatever you need. But we know sometimes even then, internet access isn't that great. And so this one is really cool. This is the audio maker. You can use this on Google Docs, and you can also use this on a website. And you select whatever text you want, and you're going to press this button. So I'm going to select this text here. I'm going to press this button right here. And I had to have that explained to me. That is supposed to be a piece of paper wearing headphones. We're going to press that, and it's going to make an MP3 of that text, and it's going to save it anywhere I want. I'm just going to save it right here. And you can save that any place you want. So you could save that audio file in a Google folder that's available offline. You could save it on a folder that syncs to iTunes, so you'd be able to listen to it on your iPhone. And it's just an MP3 file of the text. And you can do whatever you like with that. So that's a great way if your students don't have consistent access to a computer, or if you have students who really enjoy audiobooks, that's another really cool way to use the audio maker. I know prior to COVID, we had a lot of students who were student athletes, and they maybe didn't have the ability to study like on the bus going to an away game or something. And they'd be able to take their chapter and turn it into an audio file that they could listen to on the bus. So lots of different ways that you could use that. So that's the audio maker. So now we know how to hear that lots of different ways. We know how to look up words in the dictionary, the picture dictionary. This one right here, this is the web search. And this is kind of like a beginning research tool. And basically what it's going to do is you're going to select some text and it's going to do a one-click Google search of that. So it kind of helps the students to stay a little bit more focused. I know they can just Google search it, but it's an easy way for you to have your students kind of Google search and get some kind of like basic ideas about beginning to do research. So I'm going to just take this most watched 80s movies right here, and I'm going to click the one-click Google search, that web search, and you're going to see a nice web search on this. This has been very interesting. I have been using this example since before COVID. And when COVID first started, I'm telling you, these were all comfort movies. They were like Dirty Dancing and all these kind of like feel-good movies. And the longer things go on, we're getting like The Outsiders and Mosquito Coast and kind of depressing stuff. It's interesting to see how this one search has like changed over time. But you guys get the idea. This is a great way for your students to start to be able to kind of practice and hone some of their basic like search skills. So that was the web search. This one, I know we got at least one resource teacher on here, so this one's going to make you happy. This is the screen masking, the one that looks like a monitor. I'm going to turn this on, and this is deeply customizable. So if you want to have the classic kind of old-fashioned reading ruler where the student can just, go along each line and make sure that they're tracking, you can do that. But if you go into your settings here, you can change a lot of different things. So you can make this, really, really, really small if you want to. You can make it really big if you want to. One of the cool things that you can do with this switch is you can change the opacity of this. So I'm going to make the background quite a bit darker, and then I'm going to change the reading light opacity to be quite a bit lighter. So now instead of using the ruler, I can actually look through, and I could change these colors however I want. So maybe I want a purple background, which is gonna be weird, but maybe I want a purple background. So if I do something like that, and I want, for instance, you to just focus on the audio maker here, there's no reason why I couldn't use this to help you look at like and focus on just the part of the screen that I want. So when you're demonstrating something for students, this is awesome, especially on a website, right? Like if you want to say, hey, I just want you to look at this, like one news article, don't look at the whole magazine. That would be a great way for you to kind of demonstrate that. And that was the screen masking. So pretty simple. Has anyone here used word prediction before? It is not what's on your phone. What's on your phone is autocorrect, and I hate it. It's not very accurate. I have a running gag with our professional development director. She and I let autocorrect do what it's going to do, and we say some very, very strange things to each other. This is not that. It is much smarter. I'm leaving my dictionary and my picture dictionary open while we do this, so you can kind of see what happens. But it's asking me to write this sentence in the box below. There are white clouds in the sky. So I'm going to click on my word prediction icon, that little crystal ball, and you're going to see a list of words. And you probably can't hear this on the webinar, but it's actually speaking these words out loud to me. And because I have the dictionary open, it's actually showing me the dictionary definition and a picture. So I'm not just randomly picking words from a list. I'm actually honing in on what it is that I want to say. So when you have something here like a homophone or a homonym, I'm really clear that I mean like the place, not belonging to somebody, right? So I'm going to pick the right thing. So there. So it's easy to pick words from the list as they come up, but I'm gonna misspell white. So I'm going to say W-I, and it's got Y, you know, it's got some things in there, but I'm going to do W-I-T, and it's got with, within. Oh, wait a minute. White. That's how you spell white. Okay.
Shirt. Count closely.
And if I have a problem with, you know, plurals, I've got my choice there. And now I'm going to be a phonetic speller here. I'm going to try and spell sky differently. I'm going to S-K-I, sky. Wait a minute. That's not what I meant. Okay, let's go back and see.
Sky.
Okay, that's what I meant, right? So it's going to help the students to hone in on the appropriate word. Now, I've been writing at a very general level here, kind of like a classic elementary level. I'm going to try another sort of elementary type sentence. I'm going to say, my favorite. Okay, that's what I meant to say. Food. It makes sense to say processor after food, but that's not what I want. Now, I'm going to try and tell you that I like pizza. P-I-T. It knows it's food, so it came up with like pitted. Z. It's got Ritz crackers. It knows like I'm trying to make food, right? A. And now it's got pita. Pita with two T's. And pizza. So it's going to find me even if I'm not a super conventional speller, right? So we don't want students, you know, we don't want somebody to assign, you know, 100 words and the student just goes to the word prediction and just clicks 100 times. We want them to use word prediction to really select the word that they intend to use, right? So this helps with homophones and homonyms, subject-verb agreement. This helps with, you know, students identifying plurals. So one of the things that we know, and there's some pretty great research on this, is that when students have access to quality word prediction, their ability to use academic language skyrockets. So I use this example all the time because I've seen it so many times. A lot of people in kinder and first will do a unit on the hungry caterpillar, right? And, you know, the kids explore all the stuff and you can get into the science. They know what a caterpillar is. They know what a cocoon is. They understand the caterpillar went in a caterpillar and came out a butterfly. But when you ask them to write about it with construction paper and felt pens, you're going to get the bug got big because nobody wants to be the first kid in the class to misspell caterpillar, right? So we know a lot of times our students know the vocabulary, but they're not confident about writing it. So I'm going to show you how this can change to different content areas, different reading levels. This is using data from a project where Google is scanning a vast number of books in the Library of Congress. So it's different reading levels, different content areas, different registers, high and low English. It can recognize if you're working in like Victorian English versus contemporary English. So it's pretty good at figuring out where you want to go. So I'm going to trick the computer right now into thinking that I am a college student. And I also wanted you guys to notice at the beginning of the sentence here, did you notice how everything is capitalized? That's because it's the beginning of the sessions, right? I'm going to put in a $5 college student word.
Ramification of world.
Can you see how my words are now like college student words? It caught on pretty quick after I said ramifications that I'm not. I like pizza, right?
Between
Now I'm going to put Israel.
Israel,
Look at my choices.
Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Palestine.
So you kind of get an idea. It's pretty darn smart. It knows where you're, what kind of vocabulary you're using and the content area. So this really helps your students with their writing. You may already be using Google Voice Typing. This is actually the same thing. We actually invented it. It's the talk and type. So it's asking me what I had for breakfast. I had yogurt with blueberries and nuts for breakfast. So really easy. All you have to do is just press the button and talk. If you have students using this at school and in class, it's probably better for them to have a headset. Otherwise, you may want to ask them to, kind of like isolate in the back of the classroom if they're going to do a whole lot of writing. And then the other kind of interesting piece here for writing is check it. So I know that there are programs around and about that, you can just take your work and it'll just automatically correct it for you. We're an educational company. We're not fixing it for students. We want students to learn as they go through the writing process. So what we're going to do with Check It is we're going to select some work here, and you can see, Google has noticed some areas that, might need to get changed, right? But we're going to give the students some more feedback than just changing those. So I'm going to click the Check It. And what it's going to do, you probably noticed our color is purple. So any place where you see a purple line, you're going to be able to check and you're going to say, did you mean this is? Well, that doesn't make sense. These are. No, this is. So it'll correct it for you once you identify. And of course, this is a classic spelling error. You'll see school, but we know that students with learning disabilities and also English language learners often have trouble with auditory discrimination. So they may hear the word school, the word scowl, and the word skill as kind of similar and not know which one. So we're not just assuming it's a classic spelling error. There may be other things going on. And then you can see here, it's going to, and you can see Google picks up some of them, but not all of them, right? So we can do that. We can do, you can kind of decide where you want to go with that. And then just remember that this is on demand. So it's not like with the Google, you've got those little red lines, which I know drive kids crazy. This is like when you're at the point in the writing process that you want to do that, then you go ahead and turn this on. And then this is where we were talking about those highlights. And to me, this is just like the heart of the program. I really feel like this is where things take off for students. And this is the best example of these that I've ever found. So she's asking you to kind of categorize things by using these colored highlighters. And remember, I'm going to click on the item and then color it in. I can't click the crayon and then color it in. I got to click the items. So it's asking me to look for plants and make those green. So maple's a plant. So I'm going to make that green. And then animals, we've got a blue dog and a blue frog. So we're going to go ahead and make that blue. Now we're doing places in pink. So we're going to do Hawaii, and we're going to do Alaska, and we're going to do Georgia. And now we're going to do colors yellow. And I don't know if you know, she's kind of messing with you. You could probably have a blue frog, but you couldn't have a blue dog. Yellow is going to be yellow, but green is also going to be yellow. So she's really making you think about why you're using those colors. So if you want to clear something off, you select one or all of it and you brush it away with a broom. You can collect your highlights. So I'm going to go ahead and press this collect highlights button. And there's two ways I can do this. I can select them by color and organize them that way, or I can select them by order in the text. Remember I talked about Romeo and Juliet. You probably want to see what happens in each act, right? So you'd want to do that by position, but here we want to do by color. And when we do this, we're going to get a new Google Doc in our Google Drive. That doc is going to separate those things out by color. So here's my colors, here's my animals, my plants, and my places. And you probably see down here at the bottom, there is a link right back to the original. So I wouldn't stop here. This would be just kind of the beginning of thinking about how you wanted to do this. But remember, this is a great place for you to bring in those standards-based practices, right? And then last but not least, I've got these highlighted, and I'm going to click this one. This is the sexy button. This is the one that all the teachers love the most. This vocabulary button is just awesome. And you could start modeling this for the students, but eventually your students may be able to do this on their own. So I've selected some individual words, and I'm going to press this little button that looks like a bullet list. And it's going to go to my Google Drive. It's going to make me a new Google Doc. That doc is going to have a table. The table is going to have the word I selected, the dictionary definition, the picture from the picture dictionary, and then a blank column here for me to do whatever I like with. So I'll just scroll down so you can see what we've got. Right? And I got that by highlighting some individual words and pressing that button. Now, this is a Google Doc. You can do anything you want with it. You can landscape it and add more columns. You can, create this for your students and then share it and have them interact with it. You can use this to kind of guide classroom discussions, however you want to use this. And then for those of you that are supporting English language learners, there is a translate button here, and we can translate, I'll do union. We can translate individual words here, and you say I'm going to Devanagari. Okay. I can choose how I want to translate things. So rather than Hindi, I'm going to change it to, I don't know, let's change it to Spanish. Somewhere here. Spanish, okay. So you can change that. But let's say you wanted to take this entire vocabulary list and translate it to your students' home languages. I have a school district in Oregon that came up with this awesome idea. So if you go to your Google Docs tools and you go to translate document, you can pick any one of these 100 languages. So you could have this translated into Bengali for one student. We'll let that go. And then we can go over here and we can translate the same thing into Persian for another student. So whatever you want to do, you're going to get these vocabulary lists. So if you wanted to, create something like this and, share it in a folder, share it with the family, so there's extra support for concepts in the home language, whatever you want to do. But that's that vocabulary list. And remember, that works on not just Google Docs, but it also works on websites. So you could pull key vocabulary out of a textbook even.
Hey, Nora, real quick, can you just, can you show the prediction icon just real fast for Alex?
Absolutely. It's this guy right here, the one that looks like a crystal ball. And I don't know if this will help you to remember this, but we did actually have a student once who said, "Oh, you mean the exploding brain?" It is supposed to.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe the exploding brain will help you remember. We thought that was
Yeah.
and then this one is very popular as well, the voice notes. So I don't know how much you guys use the comments in Google Docs over here where you can add a comment. The voice note is going to work using Google Comments. So I'm going to click at the end of the sentence here and tell about my favorite food with the voice note. So click in the voice note. I do have to click the microphone. My favorite food is artichokes. It's a good thing I live in California and I can eat them whenever I want. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little status bar going across the screen there, that little rainbow line. It's taking that recording and it's taking that MP3 and it is adding that to the doc in a comment. My favorite food is artichokes. So pretty awesome way to communicate with your students. And vice versa. They could leave you a voice note if they don't feel comfortable like writing a question or using speech input to create the question and they want to ask you personally, they could do that as well. One more item on the toolbar, practice reading aloud. So if you want your students to be able to practice oral reading fluency, they can select text from this doc and any Google Doc, and they can practice reading aloud by pressing that button. And it's going to open up a new screen, and you can see you already are familiar with these tools, right? They can practice reading and look things up in the dictionary and all that. Then when they're ready, I'll just do a little bit right here. Once of the time far away lived a magical teacher named Miss Frost. She gave candy to the students and let them take nips instead of doing work. And then when I'm ready, if I want to listen to it again and re-record, I can. And then I can send it to my teacher. Now I am going to click this and it's going to try and send it to my coworker because we're in a Google Classroom together. So if you're in Google Classroom, it'll do that. If you're not and you want to do something else, you can still, it's looking for other teachers. And then if you want to, you can just email it. So if you don't use a Google Classroom, your students could like email that to you. So pretty simple. That was your practice reading out loud. So we've made it across the whole toolbar. I know we've got just a couple of minutes here. You already know how to use these tools now on a website. So here I am on a website. And when I want to use Read&Write, I'm going to press that purple puzzle piece and my toolbar is going to appear. And guess what? You already know how to do most of this, right? You know how to do the screen masking, right? You know how to use the dictionary and the picture dictionary. You know how to select some words here and make a vocabulary list. You already know all but two of the items on this toolbar. One is the hover speech. So you can either select some text here and press play, or you can use the hover speech that lets you just kind of bebop around on a website. So I can, just anywhere that my cursor is, I'm just going to follow my cursor and read aloud as I go. So everything else you already know how to do. The one thing I wanted to point out here we didn't do on the other one is the screenshot reader. The odds of you using the screenshot reader in Google Docs are very small because usually Google Docs are pretty accessible. You can see when I go here and I try to select text, it's pretty easy. But look what happens when I go here and I try to select text. Do you see how I'm getting that no symbol? Basically, the creators of this website wanted to make their little pullout look super cool. And so they hired a graphic designer who took words and turned them into a picture. Computer doesn't know if it's looking at words, an elephant, a sack of potatoes, the ocean, doesn't know, but you do. So you're going to take the screenshot reader. You're going to grab, can you see that little kind of target? I'm just going to lasso what I want to read, and it's going to scan it.
Supercharge reading.
And it's going to read it out loud for me. And I know it's hard to see on a webinar, but there is a replay button there. We know that if students need to hear something once, they may need to hear it again. So there's a replay button. And then when you're done, you just press the X. And then last but not least, you know how to do almost everything in PDFs when you open with Read&Write. So the highlighters are a little bit different here, just to kind of save space. They will appear in this little kind of pop out here, but otherwise same thing. You can, read stuff out loud. You can look things up in the dictionary, all that kind of good stuff. You got your screen masking. So all of that is very similar. But all of the ways that you want to annotate on PDFs are there for you. So if you want to draw on PDFs, you can. And I can turn this on and I can draw, but this isn't really effective in any way. You're sharing things with your students in Google. You already know who they are. Why would I write my name on something? Similarly, if I'm actually doing serious work, why would I write it this way? I can't engage in the writing process. All I did was I can cross it out. I can get rid of it and start all over, but I'm not really actively doing much of anything. And I hope we're not having students do worksheets where they circle the correct answer or something. We can do a lot more than that for them. So if I was going to use the freehand drawing, I would use it in a more rigorous way. I might ask the students to make a light blue line where they think they're going to find the answer to question number 2 or something. So that's a much more effective way to use it. There's a shape drawing. So you could ask a check for understanding, ask a student maybe if they could identify a verb by drawing a rectangle around it, a yellow rectangle around it. So there's my verb, right? So now I know what a verb is. But I think this is the one that people are looking for. This is the typewriter T. I can click anywhere in the text. I can answer this with my voice, okay? And I can hear what I said and edit it.
I can answer this with my voice, okay.
I don't like that okay, so I'm going to get rid of that, right? And I'm going to put some punctuation there. And then you can change this. You can make it smaller. You can make it bigger. And you can even drag it out. So you can kind of format it a little bit. And then if there was an answer line, I could add this right on the answer line so that it just looked like I typed right on the document. All of this stuff can be shared through Seesaw, Google Classroom, however you need to. And then you saw how we used comments on Google Docs. We can do the same thing here in a PDF. So we have comment over here. And let me just scroll over here to the side so you guys can see this a little bit better. So here's my comment and the different ways that I can comment. So you can see I've got like a nice kind of running conversation here going here. If I wanted to reply to this, I could use word prediction to reply more precisely. I could use speech input. So it's going to go in there and type those. I can make a voice note like we did in the Google Doc. Here's the voice note. I can play whatever is here. And I can also include a picture. So in this case, it's just kind of a landscape. But if you wanted a student to like take a picture of their math problem and put it there, you could. You can also attach a document. So let's say we had students do highlights and then they were going to write a summary. You could actually show the highlights here. And then when they completed writing a summary, they could attach the summary over here. So lots of cool ways to do that. Any questions? I know we're getting close to the end of our time together.
I actually wanted you to show again the hover speech, like how you left it in a comment. I didn't see how you did that.
Okay, so in the PDF or the website, or how did you want to do that?
I think you did it as a comment to like an example of leaving a comment to a student. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that one
this
right there.
All right. So I can
Yes.
click, I'll click somewhere farther down here. So I'm going to click my voice note right here. So the hover speech is not a Google Doc thing, but the voice note is a Google Doc thing. So I'm going to click the voice note.
Got it.
I'm leaving a voice note and then I'm going to insert it. And you're going to see that little status bar for a minute, which I know looks kind of funky on a webinar. And then you're going to see that comment pop up over here. And then you saw it was pretty similar to how I did it in a PDF, right?
Yes.
Comments and yeah.
Thank you.
We want our students to have a pretty similar experience, regardless of what they're doing. There's way more in here than we're able to get to today. But I wanted you guys, if you want to dig deeper, there's a bunch of like exercises in here that you can explore. So if you want to think about how to prepare students for the CASP, here's like a hyperdoc showing how you might do that. Here's some ways that you can scaffold students into difficult texts or in the writing process. We don't have time for this today, but we can talk about like how you actually integrate with the tools that you have. We can talk about that in our later sessions. This is something that might be super helpful for you guys. Right before COVID, I had a bunch of districts who asked me, you know, if I could recommend a program, like some software that would do graphic organizers, and they're free. Like you shouldn't pay for graphic organizers. I don't know who Van is, but I don't think he's alive to get money from us anymore. So here I put together just a bunch of open source graphic organizers for you guys. The first page are templates like the exercise we just did. So if you want to look at like a 4-sentence paragraph template, there it is. It's ready to rock. So we've got all kinds of things like that there. And then these are the same things in a PDF format. So you might want to think about like what you're doing, what tasks you're doing, and what format is best. Like a Venn diagram, you might like having as a PDF better because it's kind of more visual, right?
Hey, Nora. I'm showing that we might have a little bit more time. So I don't know, is the Zoom from 9 to 10? I had 9 to 10:30, but we might have a little bit.
Awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah, so that's one. And then there's a couple more things. I can drop a slide in that shows the icons for Elizabeth. So I can do the cheat sheet. I'll just drop in a slide into this doc. And then a couple questions. If we assign a PDF in Google Classroom, can the student use the read aloud feature on the PDF? That's one of the questions.
Okay.
And then the other one is, so when you go to the PDF, did the read and write toolbar just show up? So that's the other question.
Good questions. All right. So
Perfect.
I have interesting news for you guys. The current PDF reader, which you have if you have this little purple puzzle piece, or excuse me, this little gray thing that says PDF on it in purple, that is the Texthelp PDF reader. We are doing a major upgrade for fall. And it gets released on, are you guys ready? July 22nd. So there's like another week to use the PDF reader the way this one is. And then the new one is coming literally in, like 2 weeks. So like anything else with Google, it's going to be just pushed out by Google. So some people might get it on the 22nd. Some people might get it on the 24th. Some people might get it on the 28th. There's a way to pull it in if you want to. So it's going to function very similarly. But what it's going to allow us to do is to build even more tools into our PDF reader, which is going to be awesome. So if you want to do that right now, we can do that right now. You may want to just wait until the 22nd to integrate the new PDF reader. And then we can address that like in our August piece. If you want to do the PDF reader right now, if I right click on this PDF reader here, you're going to see a list of options. I'm going to go to my options. And you can see here, I have 3 choices, and I'll show you guys different ways to kind of engage with this. Right now, if I open a PDF on the web, it's going to automatically open with Read&Write. If I want to choose whether or not it opens, then I want to unclick that. I'll leave that for now. Then if I want to integrate with Google Classroom, I need to check Enable Classroom Integration and Open Classroom PDFs directly. So if those 2 things are checked, and my students have those 2 things checked, when you go to open a PDF, so let's go here and open that PDF again. You're going to see it flashed Read&Write. It's letting me know it's going to open with Read&Write. Here's my little progress bar, and here's my toolbar. So if both you and your students have those things set, when you have it in your toolbar and use Google Classroom, you're going to have the assign button right there. If you're a student and you have it in your toolbar and you have Google Classroom and you have those things linked, you're going to have a turn it in button. And then any of those annotations that we made, those are going to be shared through Google Classroom. So you'll be able to see those. There was one annotation I left out. Sorry, I thought we only had an hour. I'm glad we have more time together. This little guy, this push pin, I like to use this for scaffolding students. And you can just click anywhere here, and it's the same kind of interface where I can speak things, I can type things, but more importantly, the students are going to hear these read out loud. So I think this is excellent, especially for like paras and resource teachers who are helping students with work that might be assigned by somebody else. So if you wanted to scaffold and give students strategies, I said here to use the pink or the red highlighter to mark things that are bad for birds, and the green highlighter to mark anything that's good for birds. So if my students needed a little extra scaffolding in the strategy, this is just something that I uploaded from a nonprofit about how pesticides travel up the food chain. And I thought it would be a great way for kids to practice compare and contrast. And I don't know how many of you had this experience, but let's say for 2 weeks in your ELA textbook, you've been talking about compare and contrast, right? And you've been working that theory and practicing like crazy, and with direct instruction, your kids are awesome. They were killing it on Friday. You come in on Monday and you assign something called this or that. And the kids look at you blankly. They're like, what do I do? This is how you tell the kids which tools to take out of the toolbox. That's how I like to use the little push pin, right? It's just a way to kind of scaffold and help the kids access those strategies that they maybe know already, but they just don't have that like automaticity and flow with them. So let's practice a little bit with the highlighters again. So you can see I'm looking at things that are bad for birds in pink or red. So we did kind of doing a pro con. These are very not good for birds. So we're going to mark those with the pink, right? And then this is super not good for birds, and it's kind of spooky. So you kind of get the idea. This is a better poison. So we're going to say that one's better for the birds. Then when we're ready, we're going to collect our highlights. And again, I've made the colors really, categorize things. So I want to do it by color. I'm going to say, okay. And you can see I've got my pro and my con here, right? And I wouldn't stop at this point. Like I might have the students like read and respond to this on their own. And then what I might do is I might ask them to, I'm going to do this in here, but I might do this in another document that I assign to them. And I might ask them to kind of respond. So I might say good for birds, bad for birds, and the best question ever, why, right? So your student that identified tidy up, right? I mean, that is good for birds, but it's not saying a whole lot on its own, right? So if she said that, why? This is a student who's not a super competent writer, but maybe her comprehension is great. She totally understood this. She could say, if you don't leave food laying around, you won't have to put out poison, and then the birds won't get sick and die. Whoa, we got a lot more than tidy up, right? So think about using that, that highlighters to pull kids out into a more kind of deeper level thinking, higher order activity. Okay, great questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a
Yes?
couple more.
Okay.
Can the students translate into their own language on their, can the students translate into their language on their own?
So remember here, if I wanted to look up an individual word, I would use the translation inside, and it'll say that out loud, right?
Magnificent.
It'll say that inside the student's native language, and they would choose their translation language over here in the options. So let's go back to speech, translation. So instead of Hindi, I want to translate to, here we go. Chinese, I can do that, right? So now if I choose a word and I hit translate, it's going to come out in Chinese, right? So I can pick the individual words inside Read&Write. We did opt for students to use Google Translate for bigger pieces. We have 10, 15 million users, which is like a drop in the bucket compared to Google. Google Translate uses that artificial intelligence, that machine learning. So the more people use Google Translate, the smarter and smarter it gets. So we didn't want to put students into like a kind of a more closed off area where they didn't get the benefit of all of that. So if you wanted to, let's say we wanted to have this whole document translated for your students, you would go tools, translate documents. This is a Google tool. This is going to take you to like Google Translate, and we're going to pick, let's pick Filipino and translate. And here comes Rebecca. We'll let her join us. Okay, does that help?
Yeah, that's amazing. And then, yeah, so Rebecca was saying, oh, did she accidentally go out and come back in?
Okay.
Here.
Okay, so can you see the icon now on your desktop?
Yeah, sorry, I was dropped off on the call. Yeah, let me check again. And it should be right next to the search bar. Is that correct?
It'll be up there, like how Nora shows
Yeah.
you. But if it's
Let me-
not, go to the gray puzzle piece where she's showing.
And
you
look
now.
down here and
Should-
see if you can find the purple puzzle piece over here. If
Well,
it's
she's
I see
looking
the
for the-
puzzle piece. I just don't see the little square that says PDF reader.
Yeah,
Okay.
she needs the PD. There it is.
so you may not have the, I don't know if they pushed out the PDF reader for you or not. We'll double check.
Did HUSD do that, or you don't know?
I don't know, but we'll check for you. We'll find out.
Yeah, that would be great because
We'll
I'm a
give you
researcher.
guys a pathway. Hey,
That would be really helpful to help
Mhm.
the kids if, teachers assign things.
Yep,
to have them be able
absolutely.
to listen to it.
And then keep in mind that there's going to be a major update to the PDF reader on July 22nd. So I'll double check with your team. And what I'm going to suggest, if they haven't pushed out the PDF reader, is that we wait until July 22nd, because I don't want you guys to have it one way for like a week. That's
Yeah,
kooky.
no, that doesn't make
Let's
any
wait
sense.
till after the
That would be
22nd
great.
to have them
Is
push it
there
out.
someone that I should talk to from my end, or is it better just for you to talk to them, or?
Yeah, we'll see on our end, like what needs to happen from your IT team. We'll double check it for you.
That would be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really helpful to have it.
I know we're so close to the release of the new one. We try to time this stuff so that it's like before school starts, but you guys have year round. So sorry, we're kind of catching you in the middle there. So
No, you're good.
Yeah. Oh, so
Great.
Heather's on. She said that she'll take care of it.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Heather.
Excellent. Sounds good. So we've run through kind of like the basics. Let's talk a little bit more about some different ways that you might want to use Read and Write. Thank you, Corey, for adding this piece on the Read and Write toolbar. That's super helpful.
Is that in the chat?
She actually added it into the slides for you.
Oh, okay. So was the link that you already posted, will that have this slide in there now? Or do I
Yes.
need to-
No, you need to update. I didn't have to update and refresh my page, but you may need to refresh your page. We'll see.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, guys.
So we talked about student privacy, right? And so I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that you can actually see what your students are doing. We can't, but you can. So I wanted to share how that works. So we have a tool that's included with Read and Write called Data Desk. And if you go to this link right here, datadesk.texthelp.com, it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. I'm going to show you screenshots because I don't have student information to share with you. So if you go to datadesk.texthelp.com, when you get there, there's going to be a screen that looks like this, and it's going to pop up and it say, do you want to connect with your Google Classroom? And if you say, why, yes, I do, then what you're going to get is you're going to get like a bar over here with all of your Google Classrooms. Okay. And there's a number of different things that you can do with Data Desk. Remember how I use the feature switch to turn on and off items on the Read and Write toolbar, like on my toolbar? If you wanted to turn on and off items for your students, you could pick like one student or, one period, however you want to do it, and you could turn on and off these icons on the toolbar. So let's say second period, we're giving some kind of like a spelling test and you didn't want the students to have access to the dictionary, you could turn that off just for the time of second period. So the default, if you don't do anything, if you turn something off, the default is to turn it off for an hour. The last thing that you want is if you have a special ed student that has accommodations that they need all day, you don't want to kill that for your students all day, right? So if it's just, something temporary for your class, you can set it up, but you can see you can do for an hour, a day, a week, a month, till you say otherwise, right? So that's one cool thing. And then to just kind of refresh your memory on what that feature switching looks like. If I go here into my options and I go to features, can you see, check it, how I just made it go away? And then prediction, I can make it go away. And so I'm doing this on my own personal Read and Write for Google Toolbar. But if you use Data Desk to do this, you can turn this off for one or all of your students. So that's one thing that would be helpful. So if you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm teaching my students this whole toolbar, it's entirely too much, I'm going to just show them how to, have stuff read out loud and use the dictionary and translate. You could turn off everything except read aloud, dictionary, and translate. And then as you train the students on other things, you could add those in. So you can customize their toolbars for them, which is nice. The other cool thing that you can do is you can get analytics on what your students are doing. So let me make this bigger for you again. So again, you could do this for a whole classroom, or you could do this for an individual student. You can look and you can see for any period of time, the default is 30 days, but you can go back for a semester or a year, however long you want. And you're going to see when the student is using Read and Write. So I know we have a resource teacher here. If you see that the day you work with that student is Thursday, and that's the only day they're using Read and Write, they probably need some more training, right? Because they're not using it independently. Likewise, if you had a student with an IEP and one of the things on their IEP was that they got word prediction as an accommodation, you're going to want to be able to look down here and you're going to want to see, the student is using the speech, the dictionary, the picture dictionary. You're going to want to see, oh my gosh, the student is using word prediction, or maybe they're not. So again, do they need more training? And ideally, in a situation like that, you might see, all right, they weren't using it. We provided some training. The use of word prediction started going up. And maybe you can correlate that to like, oh, they're turning in their assignments on time, or, there's some like achievement associated with that. So up to you. But if you want to see what your class or your students are doing with Read and Write, you totally can do that with Data Desk. Also, if for some reason you wanted to pull that information out, you could actually create like a little document there that way as well. So just keep in mind, you can see that information. We cannot see that information. So that's just for you. And then
Is Data Write, is that based on the Google Classroom where I get the kids? Because I don't have a roster.
Mhm.
Will it come from my Google Classroom that I've already set up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it'll come from Google Classroom. So basically, Texthelp can't see that information, and we chose Google Classroom as we basically gave the key to Google Classroom for you to unlock that information. So we don't have the key. Google Classroom's holding the key for us. You can use the key to unlock your student information through Classroom. I know we had some more questions about using Read and Write in the LMS, and these are short little videos that will show you how you would use Read and Write in different LMS. So this is Read and Write in Google Classroom. Remember how I showed you guys to adjust those PDF settings? There's a video showing you exactly what I just showed you about how to set those PDF settings. Here's using Read and Write in Seesaw. I don't think you guys have any of these other ones. Canvas, Schoology. I know Sam Leander has Schoology. And you're not going to need it in Office 365. But this will just kind of give you like a quick overview on what that looks like. Let me show you one more thing about PDFs. So you guys saw, that I was in a PDF in my Google Drive. What if I encounter a PDF online? And I want you guys to think about like what strategy you want to use here. I'm going to go to this little document here. This is Spanish worksheets. And I know there's a bunch of documents that I can do online here. Here's a free sample. Now remember, I have checked, let me go right here to my options. I have open web PDFs checked right now, right? So you can see that. I am going to have this open with the PDF reader. So you're going to see the PDF reader appears up here at the top, right? And you see I've been here before. And so I can, I can draw things. Let's color that in. Ooh, there's my purple circle. So I can do, all of that good stuff on here. But you'll notice when I opened it in the website, this is not on my Google Drive. So I'm fortunate that this website hasn't updated anything and hasn't gotten rid of me. But, nothing on the web is forever unless you're in charge of it, right? So you don't want to do a bunch of annotating on a PDF that lives on somebody else's website because you might not get it back, right? So what I would do here is I would save this to my Google Drive. So you can see when it's opening on the website, I'm going to have this icon saved to Google Drive. I'm going to go back here. Do you see saved to Google Drive for the one that's already in my Google Drive? So here, it has saved to Google Drive. So if I click Save to Google Drive, I'm just going to put it here, whatever, it doesn't matter. So now this is now saved in my Google Drive. And no matter, see how that went away? No matter what happens now, I own this thing. So keep in mind how you want to do this. Totally up to you, which you want to choose. I can go back and kind of recreate the scene of the crime, right? I can do my bad purple scribble, all that kind of jazz. But now it lives in my Google Drive and I can always find it, right? So I'm going to go back to my settings and I'm going to turn off the open web PDFs. And you guys just decide how you want to do it, okay? So now when I'm on this website, I'm going to pick another one. Let's do this one. And I want you guys to see how this works if it's not opening with Read and Write. So now you can see I'm clearly in a preview mode, right? Because it's black and it's kind of off by itself and there's not really much I can do. There's no toolbar, there's no anything. Now, if I say open with Texthelp PDF Reader, it's going to open that and it's still not in my Google Drive. I can save it now to my Google Drive. So it's totally up to you. If you think having the Texthelp PDF Reader come on every single time that you open a PDF online is not going to be something you want, then maybe you'd rather do it this way, right? The other thing to keep in mind is one of the things that I do a lot with the Texthelp PDF Reader is I read a lot of people's LCAP, right? And, it's an LCAP, 70 pages. And, there's parts of it that aren't that intriguing. Maybe I want 3 or 4 things out of the LCAP. I can go through that whole big old 70-page LCAP and I can highlight, oh, these are things that I'm going to help with in green and pull those out. And instead of 75 pages, I have like a 1-page you know, of what's important from the LCAP. So if I were to save this to Google Drive and I did all of that, I'd be in awesome shape. But otherwise, all of those highlights are going to disappear or could disappear, right? If you change your LCAP or whatever. So just kind of keep that in mind. If it's easier for you to just have everything open, keep in mind, if you want to save it, you want to save it to Google Drive, you still have to click that button. For me, I like to have it off so that I'm making a conscious choice about where to save things, right? So when it's off, I know, oh my gosh, I have to decide what I'm going to do with Read and Write. So totally up to you guys what you want to do. Just, you know, pick a flow that makes sense to you and stay with it, and you should be in pretty good shape. For me, I like to see that big black screen that says, hey, what you doing here? But you can pick whatever flow makes sense to you. More questions?
Not so far. Anybody else have any more questions?
I had one question. Just, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So this is great. I'm just trying to, you know, as we're going through it, trying to envision how, as a resource specialist, we can use it, and would love to sort of make sure that my GE teachers know how to use it and everything. So if I was the one that asked the question about reading PDFs in Google Classroom, because that we sort of touched on some of this. This is great because a lot of the icons I didn't know how to use, but I couldn't figure out how to read the PDFs that I put in my Google Classroom. So that's great if we can get that PDF thing. But if a teacher, you know, now that we're in person, if a teacher does give just a hard copy of a PDF, what's the most efficient way to get it onto the computer so that the kids can read it or have it read to them?
Super awesome question. I am going to take you guys, there's a couple of things there. You have a couple of different options, and this is basically a whole hour training. So I'm going to give you like the quick and dirty. If we decide we want to get back to it, totally can. You know, because you can see it on the screen, I think sometimes people just assume everything's accessible. And I want you guys to remember, look what we got going on here. Not so hot, right? The rest of this is awesome, but we have this part here. So like anything online, the chances are very good that you're going to encounter some stuff that's not accessible. So if you get a PDF from a publisher, for instance, there is a very, very strong chance that it's locked. And that's okay, because we can help you to unlock it. Here's another like great example. Like there are national laws that require things to be accessible, and they're still not always met. So I thought that you guys would get a kick out of this. Like, this is a government website telling you, and this is a Canadian government website, but it's telling you like you are required to make things accessible. And here's a whole long old article on this website about, you know, the government's coming after you if you don't make things accessible. And check this out. Ta-da! Even the government telling you to do this made this inaccessible. Okay. So you're going to encounter things that aren't formatted right. But the good news is we can help you with this. So you have a couple of different options. So one is using Read and Write Windows, and these documents are linked here. You can use Read and Write Windows or Read and Write Mac to scan inaccessible content, and those are included with your license. The other thing that you can use is a tool called Snapverter. So Snapverter is going to change those documents for you right inside Google Drive. So I'm going to click here and give you some screenshots real quick while we still have a couple of minutes. So let's say you had that teacher that gave you, a paper worksheet, and you want to get it on the computer. You could use your Chromebook, or you could use your phone to take a picture of that document, and then using that, you would be using Snapverter, you'd be able to turn that into a totally interactive document. So if we take a photo of it with Snapverter, there's a Snapverter connection for your smartphone, and we can make sure that you guys know how to do this on a phone if you want to. So from your phone, you have to have Google Drive on your phone. So if you have an iPhone, you have to add Google Drive. So you would go to the SnapVerter folder on your phone, and then you would add that. So I'm going to go to my SnapVerter folder on my Google Drive, and I'm just going to show you how I would scan, and then you'll see how this whole thing could be done on your phone as well. So you can see I've got like all kinds of stuff going on in my my Google Docs. I'm here to prove that there's unlimited room, I guess. And you can see I have a folder called SnapVerter. When you install SnapVerter, you're going to get a folder. It's not red, but I made mine red. So when I'm in the phone, that's the only red folder, and I can just till I see red. I'm going to open my SnapVerter folder. And inside SnapVerter, there are 4 folders. You have drop here to convert and finish. Those are the ones you care about. You don't really care that much about in progress or failed. So I'm going to go open my drive like one more time here. And I want you guys to see what happens if I try to open an inaccessible PDF. So I'm going to open this one, oh so cleverly called bad scan. So this is an inaccessible PDF. This is not interactive. So you're going to see the toolbar is going to appear up here, and you're going to see a text, a little icon up here. It's going to say, we can't find text in this document. It may not have been scanned using OCR. Now I can scribble on it and I can do all this stuff, but I can't read it. I can't use the dictionary. I can't interact with the text. I'm just laying this stuff on top of the text, but I'm not really interacting with it. So if I click here to convert it with SnapVerter, it's going to go through the process that I'm going to show you right now. So let me go ahead. I'm going to click here and let it do its thing. I'm going to go back here and show you what it's doing. So if I had a file and I wanted to see that converted, I would bring that file in here, which I already did by clicking that button. I could also, let's say I had a coworker that emailed me a PDF, but it wasn't interactive. When I load that to my Google Drive, instead of just, putting in my drive under stuff room 17 sent me, I could go to SnapVerter, drop here to convert, and put it here. So when you think about the different folders, let's say you're going to your favorite coffee shop. You walk in the door and you go to the barista and you order your coffee. That's drop here to convert. Then you wait a little bit, and at the other end of the counter, the same person or another person says, hey, here's your coffee, right? That's the finish folder. So when you put something in this folder, you guys saw how bad scan was in there and then it disappeared. This folder is sending a pulse to our servers, and it's saying, hey, somebody in California is scanning something. It's going to swoop that document onto our servers, which is in progress. And when it's completed, it's going to come out in the finish folder. So you saw how that was not scanned. And once I've scanned it, it's going to be totally accessible. It's in my drive already. And now I can do all that cool stuff. I can highlight text and I can have it read out loud and everything. So that's the SnapVerter piece. So just remember, if you have something that that needs to be scanned, this little guy is going to pop up. And again, the format for that is going to be slightly different when the PDF reader updates, but it pretty much works the same way. So, so on your phone, you would just go to the folder that says, let me make this a little bit bigger. You just go to the folder that says SnapVerter, go to the drop here folder. Then you would add from the camera, take a picture of the worksheet, and everything I just showed you is going to happen. Does that help?
It does. I'll be amazed if I can remember that. So. That's
okay. I mean, we're here to support you in it, and we're gonna kind of go over this with you guys again with the new format.
I came in a couple minutes after you got started. Did you share your contact information, or?
Yes.
Who do we?
Yeah. So you've got our contact information here in the slides. So you're good here.
Awesome.
Awesome. And then you've also, I think you've got Corey's here. We'll make sure we add like Corey's information for you as well.
Also, this is being recorded, so we can visit it again, right?
Yeah, revisit
For sure. Yep.
That's what I'm relying on. It's so much.
There's way more than we're ever going to get to like in one session, but I wanted you guys to have like one big document that would help you with this kind of stuff. So just, know that we've got tons of resources. We've got more coming for you that are going to be more focused and more directed. But I also wanted to make sure that, we have awesome tech support. Our company is actually based in Northern Ireland, which is part of why we're so hardcore about privacy. But our tech support folks are on the East Coast. So you can always call them Keep in mind that we're just starting to come back to the office from COVID. So there may be a slight delay while they route your call. So don't hang up if you don't get like a live human, leave a message and they'll call you right back because they may be at home or in the office. And then likewise, if you email them, they'll get right back to you. So you can just email, actually, I'm going to change this. It's really just support@Texthelp will get you there. And they love screenshots, right? So if you're like, I cannot figure out how to do this setting, take a screenshot, email it to them. Yes, they're in another time zone. So I know, 2 o'clock when we start having time to think about non-kid related things, they're already gone. But remember that time zone works both ways. If you send them a screenshot at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they may send you a response at 5 in the morning our time. So that's a really great way to kind of communicate with them. This was a lot in 90 minutes. We know this was a lot in 90 minutes. So keep in mind, we're recording this. This is there for you to like review, but we will be back with kind of more focused. We just kind of wanted you guys to see what was possible. We did the drive-by 30,000 foot overview. And then later we're going to dig into kind of more specific strategies and help you focus. Best advice I can give you is like, if there were 2 or 3 things that you liked here, we're going to help you focus on how you're going to be able to introduce those to your students and run with them.
Yep.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Corey, want to wrap this up?
Yeah. So everybody, I'm hoping you're going to join us in August, but if not, we'll be recording those as well. Thank you for joining us. Again, I added my information to the last slide of the email or of the slide deck. You have both of us on there. We're definitely in communication with Heather very frequently. So if you need anything, you can connect with her or connect with us. We're here for you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
you
for
guys.
joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of
Yeah, you bet.
course.
The Snapverter, will we not have access to that app until we have access to the PDF?
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, you're gonna want to have them both together. So we'll
Okay,
give you
because
guys
I
the
tried
update
to
on that.
add the extension for the Snapverter and it said conversion failed.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll work with your tech team on which direction they want to go with that. And then when we do the big reveal on the 22nd, we'll make sure you guys have like a real clear pathway. So thanks for being patient with us, you year-round people.
Thank you. This was so great.
Clever introducing something in the summer, but clearly we're catching you guys midstream. So
No, this was so great. Thank you so much.
right.
Really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, you
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.